I think there's something very inherently human in looking to the horizon, awaiting what we cannot yet see. It consumes us. We think about the things we might do, the places we might go, who we might be, that we tend to get lost. We forget who we are, where we are, when we are, what we have in any given moment. This applies to any given element of our lives. I know it does to mine. I have a tendency to look forward far more than I have a tendency to look back for reasons both good and bad. And I think that that is something that has very much consumed many groups of people over time. And I think A Song of Ice and Fire is an example of one such instance. Ice and Fire is the greatest fantasy story of all time. In that degree, I do not think it matters whether or not it's finished. I think that the first trilogy of books, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords, even if taken completely on their own, would still that fill that title. And that's even discounting John Connington, so you know I'm serious. Martin fills his world and his characters with such pathos in a genre typically defined by what isn't human, the mystical, the magical, things beyond our understanding. It truly amazes me. And I think that the series being in its current state, being something that is yet to reach its conclusion, does add even further meaning to that. It allows the readers to not only explore the themes that are directly discussed, but speculate further on not only where arcs may be going, but what the larger thematic meaning and core of different characters ends up being. I think it ends up in a situation where we have readers having a lot of varying degrees of understanding of different characters. And I think it is fascinating to see all of these different interpretations and the ways that people inscribe meaning to things that really have a billion meanings. I opened this video talking about the horizon because I think it is reflective of ice and fire discussions as a whole. Yes, it is fascinating to speculate on the future of something that has not yet been completed, but that tends to lose what has already happened for what has yet to happen. I think that it is very easy to get swept up in speculation as to what's to come. Hell, this channel's a lot of speculation on what's to come. But the what we have, the thematic elements that already exist, I think are the core of the series as it currently stands. It is only because the text that we currently possess is so rich that we are able to delve so deep into something that we know very little about, the future of this series, though it will, I think, someday come. George R. R. Martin made a blog post. I'm recording this the night after this came out, fairly late. This is fairly off the cuff and less scripted than my usual stuff, but it made me quite sad. He talks about this idea that, oh, he'll never finish The Winds of Winter. Fans have already asserted that he'll never finish The Winds of Winter. He's going to have to get somebody else to finish it after he dies. That makes me incredibly sad and incredibly angry that Martin thinks these things and they are having an effect on him. Martin is a person. He's a great artist who has changed my life and many lives, undoubtedly for the better. I think that the people who say these things tend to trivialize the person in play here, as this is someone who maybe he isn't reading every Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube comment, but he sees these headlines anytime he does anything and just honestly has a very human reaction to them. It seems as though this particular blog post comes in response to articles. The one I saw was from IGN criticizing his new role as a producer on the work of one of his late friends, Howard Waldrop. This is a role that I think is very much being overblown. He's a producer. He's not writing. He's not animating this thing himself. He is taking on a role and helping this project, likely financially, and it's unclear what capacity beyond that, to honor the legacy of his late friend. The fact that people would be up in arms about Martin being distracted from the Winds of Winter about this, I don't know. It's not anything. It's not like he's actively helping develop spin-off shows, which has been something in the past, but this is something completely different and for a completely good reason. And it's bizarre that it's gotten the focus it has, because getting comments on Twitter or on Reddit, that makes sense. People are going to be salty wherever, but when mainstream media outlets end up having these headlines that read like these comments, it just creates this honestly typhoon of negativity that I just despise. Speaking of things I despise, I do not engage with any comments to the effect of Martin is going to have this series completed posthumously. Martin has made it clear time and time again that this is not what he is going to do. This is not what he wants, and any version of the series that is completed in this way will not be a true version of the series if it does not conform to what the artist wants the series to be. It's incredibly frustrating to me because the name that's always thrown around is Brandon Sanderson. Oh, Brandon Sanderson will finish Ice and Fire the way he finished Wheel of Time. I have nothing against Sanderson. I've read some of his work. I've read most of Stormlight, and I liked it well enough. I don't think it's nearly on the same level of Ice and Fire, but not only that, Martin has specifically said that he does not want anyone, specifically Sanderson, to do this, so it just shouldn't happen regardless. And the man hasn't even read Ice and Fire. He said that Martin is a great fantasy author. He should be on the Mount Rushmore of modern fantasy, but he has not read past A Game of Thrones. He has said that, quote, Daenerys was too much for him. So people making that comment just irks me. Martin's blog post came at a kind of weird time for me as well. Not to make everything about me, but in my past several videos, I've noticed my comment section getting notably more negative as well, specifically about the prospects of the future of this series. Well, we are currently in a state where we haven't had a substantial update on the Winds of Winter's progress in a couple years. I think that that is kind of how things have been since 2011. I don't know what necessarily has changed, but people seem to be growing more and more vitriolic. And what I say to that is, what is the point at this point? It's clear that Morton sees the vitriol. It is having an effect on him and on his mental health. It's clearly not doing anything positive. People have been this shitty for a decade at this point because it has been such a long time, but it clearly is not having the effect that you want it to have if you are leaving that comment, oh, the Winds of Winter will never be completed. So I ask, what's the point? Why leave that comment? Why spread that negativity? At this point, it's proven nothing is going to come of that other than you voicing this negativity into the world and maybe creating more negativity as a part of it. I'm not saying that Martin is blameless in all of this. I think it's a very complex situation. I think that the fans have created a very toxic space, but that toxic space is very much festered in the weight that has been happening for the Winds of Winter. Really, I think what we have here is a failure of communication, and it is a very sad one. As Martin really hasn't given any updates on the Winds of Winter. He has been burned by that in the past because what I think is going on in his head at this moment, not to kind of psychoanalyze this too much, but in the past, Martin has given himself deadlines. Look at the year of 2015, 2016. He had these concrete deadlines for the Winds of Winter to be finished, but it didn't get finished, and he is still being called a liar about that to this day. He is worried that if he gives progress updates, he will be called a liar if he decides to go back and rewrite, redo, or continue working on things. And that's a fairly understandable thing, especially when people have been this toxic. But with that said, I think that maybe if certain updates were couched in, this is not set in stone necessarily, but here is my progress. I'm having trouble in X areas, as was the case with his progress on A Dance with Dragons. That might be more positive for the community generally. But that said, I honestly don't know if that would be good. So who knows? I think I want this to inform the way I go about making videos or making anything in the future. I think speculating about what's to come in this series is always going to be a large staple of what I do, but I think I'd also like to focus a bit more on what we already have. I've enjoyed some of the thematic analysis that I've done, specifically some of my analysis on John Connington or the Greyjoy analysis or how Martin writes disabled characters. I think all of these are among my best videos. And the more I think about it, the more I wish I've created more like that could be seen as just truly positivity on the series as we currently have it, rather than necessarily building up expectations. If I regret one video in my entire YouTube career, well, A, it'd be all the Dungeons and Dragons videos that use my face and have me talking very poorly to a camera, and B, it would also probably most definitely be that video I made about a year ago speculating on whether the Winds was imminent. I do worry that I caused a little bit of a wave of hype there, and that might have caused some negativity in the long run based on very much unfounded speculation that now seems to be primarily rooted in Martin's rift with House of the Dragon. But alas, regardless of that, I think I have a bit more of a direction going forward now. Legacy is a tricky thing, and I think it's something that Martin has been thinking about more and more of late. I don't think he has any need to worry about legacy. He seems to be in quite good health, and in fact seems to be slimming down a bit, which is, I think, a good thing. He probably has Ozempic money, so good for him. But it's worth thinking about how one is remembered after they are gone, and I think that Martin will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the all-time greats of fantasy, regardless of this current negativity surrounding him just at all times. I think that it is difficult to consider the wider implications of what happens after someone is gone, but I think that things tend to fade away except for what matters, in this case being the art. As for me, I hope to analyze that art as I continue into this thing called YouTube. This is a very late night video for me, um, kind of spawned from, I don't know, thinking about this post and just legacy in general. And am I putting positive things out there? Am I creating good in the world? Because, I don't know, it has occurred to me, considering my legacy, that probably the last time someone hears my voice will be on one of these videos rather than me saying goodbye to a loved one. So I don't know. I want to think about what I'm doing, how I'm impacting those who listen to me. So I hope that I've impacted you in a positive way, and I hope that I continue to do so in the future if you continue to join me for these, videos.